Hello, my name is Zachariah with Old Man Gaming. Coming at you with a fun little video I just kind of came up with and I wanted to do today, so we're going to do it. I got a couple of disclaimers before I get into it. This video is called my 2K24 GM Mode Wishlist. But before we get into it, I do want to just apologize for how my voice sounds. I am battling something relatively nasty right now, and honestly, if you're new to the channel, then you don't know, but basically every year around this time, I go hoarse. I don't know why. So, what is my GM Mode Wishlist? Well, I am kind of a weirdo, guys. 2K23, I purchased that game, and I have over 142 hours in it, but you're going to be very surprised when I tell you it's not in universe mode, it's not in the main game, it's not in showcase mode, it's not online. I only play GM mode. Only GM mode, both by myself and for a show that we do here on the channel called OMGM, where I book against a buddy of mine. So GM mode is the entirety of the game for me. Like, it's start and finish, why I purchased the game, what I play there. I absolutely worship GM mode. I was so happy when it came back. And then when they improved upon it on 2K23, I was even happier. So what is this video specifically? Well, 2K23 did improve on GM mode quite a bit. It made it a much more robust mode. It made me a very happy person, to the point where I could be happy playing GM mode for years and years and years to come. But WWE 2K is a annualized franchise. So with that in mind, they're most likely going to come out with another version this year, and it's probably going to have a GM mode, considering the fact that there are tons of YouTubers who also play GM mode through TV. It's just good for content, good for branding, so I'm assuming there's going to be another update to a bigger GM mode. However, this GM mode made me really happy. The original GM mode in 2K22 was as bare bones could be. However, this one gave you a good amount of everything. Still, there's a lot of stuff that's cut down. But my personal opinion, I'm not usually one to buy an annualized franchise every year. 2K, especially 2K, I buy 2K usually once every like 4 years. I only bought 2K23 because the GM mode was so much more improved than the original 2K22 that I had to get in. However, I don't know that 2K24 is going to have enough changes to make me want to make that jump, or maybe wait for another iteration, 2K25 or 2K26. So, what I've decided to do, long-winded way as possible, is compile just a list of things that I would want to see that would potentially make me make that jump to 2K24 and drop another $60 only a year later to get another GM mode. And that's what this video is going to be. Almost 4 minutes in, sorry for the preamble, but I'm going to go through all the things that 2K24 would have to drop into into GM mode to get me a career GM mode player to drop his money. Alright, so let's get into it. Number 1. Okay, this one, I'm going to get this one out of the way because this is going to be a kind of a hot take one, and I think a lot of people out there who watch this, who are 2K fans, are going to be kind of upset with my opinion on this, because the general consensus on the class system in GM mode is that they don't like it. The way GM mode works is there is 5 total classes: Giants, Cruisers, Bruisers, Fighters, Specialists. Specialists match up okay with everybody, while Bruisers and Fighters match up really good against each other. Cruisers, Giants match up really good against each other. And if you cross-class stuff without matching, you get lower match scores. A lot of people hate this because then they can't, put some of their favorite wrestlers. They kind of they're hamstrung into keeping those wrestlers in the same place. I don't actually hate this, mainly because, well, I think there needs to be qualifiers. One thing I didn't like about the original GM mode years and years ago was that there wasn't a lot of qualifiers. You just booked people. All you had was like a popularity value, and you just had to kind of guess whether you were doing things right or not. I like the idea that there is a qualifier, that I know I'm going to get a better match score if I put these two people together. I know if I'm going to get a better match score if I put face and heel together, so on, so forth. that being said, I'm with you on the I want to match anybody with anybody. So, the thing that I would do for the next one, I've talked about it quite a bit, is I would make the class system, a class change promo. So right now in the game, you can do these promos, you can book promos. The promos can give you money, they can give you fans, they can boost somebody's popularity, but they can also change somebody from heel to face. I think every character should come with two classes. Like every bruiser could also be a fighter or a giant or something like that. Every character should have two classes that they could be at any given time, and then you could switch back and forth between the two of them via this promo. So you spend a little money, you switch them to a different class so that you can match them up with a different set of people. It would make it more versatile, but you still have that limiter in that you have to have a promo going. So you're still drafting. It doesn't really affect the draft. It doesn't make it obsolete, but it gives you a little bit more some versatility to really book the matches you want and set up the rivalries you want. Which brings me to number 2, which is kind of off that in a lot of ways. I want some rule-breaking cards. So right now in the game, there is this card system in the background where you purchase these cards that can give you special abilities in certain moments. So like, oh, I'm going to use this card. It's going to give my steel cage match a really good rating, or it's going to give my people stamina back, or whatever. With this, what I'm talking about is you would be able to set up a rivalry that would be just as popular as other things with a card without necessarily changing anything. So like face versus face, heel versus heel, because that does happen in wrestling, and they can actually make for some of the most interesting storylines there is, because people have to figure out who to cheer for, and then you get this really interesting divide. With this, what I'm talking about is you would have you would play a card, and then you'd pick 2 heels or 2 faces, and then those faces would start a rivalry on the next show, and as long as you continued their rivalry, it would keep going as if they were different alignments. You could do the same thing with classes, like Giant versus Giant. Great card for that. Big E from WWE coined the phrase, big men slapping man meat. Man meat would be a great card for that. So 2 giants take on each other, or 2 bruisers. I think that this could be a really interesting card, and another way to kind of get around the class system without completely dispensing with the class system, because, like I said, you need qualifiers when you're doing a management game like this. Brings me to number 3. What I want to see is I want to see crossover events and special event shows. So let me go through it again. Right now, as GM Mode works, in 2K23, it is 5 pay-per-view cycles, always ending in WrestleMania. So you have 4 shows, then a pay-per-view. It's a total of a 25-week game, and then you go back into the draft or whatever. Totally okay with that. I like it. I think it's a good amount of time. I know it's not the full 50, but full 50 gets really crazy if you play 2K23. So I like the idea of the 25, then we restart over. And if you watch WWE, it feels like they're doing a draft every 25 weeks anyway, so it kind of makes sense. With that process, though, in place, there is a couple of things I don't like. The only one that's locked for every year is WrestleMania at the end. The 25th show is always WrestleMania. The other ones are random. It could be Hell in the Cell, Survivor Series, whatever. And each one of those shows has a branded match that if you use that match on that show, you get a little bump. Here's the thing, though. We don't have any Royal Rumble. We don't have any King of the Ring. We don't have any Money in the Bank. And we don't have any Survivor Series. We don't have any crossover shows. For the most part, I'm okay with no crossover because I like brand separation, especially in a mode like this, because you're trying to get the better rating. However, I would love to see it if the 15th show, that would be the 3rd, the dead middle of the cycle, was a random event show, like King of the Ring, Royal Rumble, Survivor Series, whatever. And it was also a crossover show, so it would have a special event pre-programmed in it that you could watch, and you basically made your rivalries based on who was going to end up going into the match itself. So obviously I don't think you could do a 30-man Royal Rumble. The rosters just they're not engineered to have that many people in GM mode, but you could easily do like a 12-man Royal Rumble, and each of you get to put 6 wrestlers in. Same with the Money in the Bank or a Survivor Series where the brands take each other on. I think that would be really cool. But what you could do with this is set up your own rivalries so that it had to do with your characters. And what will be even more interesting is you could have that invade possibility just in this month where you could send a wrestler over to the other brand and attack another brand, start a rivalry cross-promotional. I think that would be really cool and a really nice addition here. And it's also going to allow me to dovetail right into my next one. And this is a big one. This is something that the entire community for GM Mode has been asking for since 2K22. Please, WWE 2K, I cannot stress this enough, give us trades. Why can't we trade our wrestlers back and forth brand to brand? Now, I understand why they didn't do this. And it's kind of convoluted, but the reason is you could make 2 human characters. You could lopside one to beat your CPU characters without problem, because you could just have the second CPU accept any trades from the first CPU. So you could basically draft twice and then lopside all the best characters onto one show. I get it. Who cares, though? It's GM mode and you're having fun. Like, it's not like you play this mode online competitively. There's no ranking for this. So who cares if you're going to cheat against the CPU in your own house? I think we need trades. We absolutely do. It would be so much more fun and dynamic situation if you could. If you wanted to limit the trades so that you didn't get that weird lopsidedness, you could always limit every character to 1 possible trade per month. So I can attempt to make a trade once per month. If I make that trade, I can't trade for the rest of the month. I think that would be a really cool way to do it. So total, you're looking at 4 trades between if you're playing with all 4 brands. So, I mean, this has to get in there. The original GM mode, way back in the day, back in the SmackDown versus Raw days, had this. It was so much fun. Really, really want this better to be in there, and it will also make when you're playing against other people more dynamic. And I want to see that happen. All right, we're trucking right along because I got another one, and this one's a big one for me. I want to see one of these 2 things. I'm gonna put these together, even though they're very different. I want to see either way more brands and way more GM options, or I want to see the ability to put your created show into GM mode. So the way WWE 2K works, there's actually a mode where you could create a show from the ground up. You could create the graphics, you can create the entrance, the music, the arena, all of that. And you can use that in Universe mode and in other places. You cannot use that in GM mode. In GM mode right now, you have a choice between, I think it's 6 different brands. Sorry, you guys are going to hear my dog. She has decided to come down and clip-clop all over the floor for no apparent reason. But there's Raw, there's SmackDown, NXT, NXT 2.0, and WCW. So I guess it's 5. 5 different brands you can pick from. Look, those brands are cool. They're nifty, but I want more, all right? Where's ECW? You own that, WWE, so why don't we have ECW in there? You also own, like, Progress Wrestling. Let's put that in there. There's a ton of different things that you could stick in there to give us more brand selection when we're picking. Or you could just let us create the show. And then what you could do with that is you could allow us to pick what card from the other shows our show gets. So every show, the way the game works right now is you get a unique card dependent on the brand you choose. And you get a unique card dependent on the GM you choose. But in a lot of ways they're doing that wrong, because if you play a created GM, you get a specific card for every GM. That's what they get, period. Why do that? Instead, have, when you're creating your character, in those options, when you're creating them, just have them select one of the other GM cards to play. I want to play with Xavier Woods. I want to play with Tyler Breeze's card. Whatever. You can do the same thing with the created arena. Just have them pick, I want to play with WCW's card, or I want to play with SmackDown's card. Like, I think that would be so much more fun. It would just really open up GM mode to go crazy with. Like, I could create a TNA brand from scratch, especially with the created suite, which That's a whole nother thing because the Created Suite might not be as good next year as it is this year, but that's not what this video is for. Still, this would be a huge thing. This is something I want to see added one way or the other. Give us more brands or give us the ability to create our own brand, because that would be absolutely... That right alone might be enough to get me to jump. I'm not going to lie. Just that alone might be enough to get me to jump. And finally... the last one I want to talk about right now, for me, is... So, 2K22 had almost no match types. You could only do one-on-one matches. Yeah. 2K23 has Fatal 4-Ways and Triple Threats. The tag teams are still 2-on-2, and really you're capped at 4 wrestlers being in the ring at any one time, but they opened up the match types. You have Backstage Brawls, Falls Count Anywhere, Last Man Standings, all of that stuff. I think all of this stuff is really cool. It's really nice that it got added. What I want to do now, I want to go to the next logical step, give us 6-man matches, and add in an elimination chamber. I think that would be absolutely, like, the capper. Another thing that would bring me in, if I could have a triple threat tag team match, that would really open me up for some interesting decisions and selections. I think that would be really cool. You could also do the Eliminator, 6-man TLCs, stuff like that, that really opens up the mode. I love that we could do 4 people. I have plenty of fun with 4. I don't need to jump for the 6-person thing if this is the only thing that they put in there. But this would be cherry on the top if they had this with a bunch of the other features that I talked about. I would love to see this in the next mode and just love to get some more crazy match types. And I will say, with the way they do the pricing and the balancing on the pricing in the GM mode, you never really have a sustainable roster above like 8 or 10 wrestlers. Like once it starts to get above that, you start to get wonky, and that's way less. So everything is more condensed than actual wrestling. For normal shows, you're only booking 4 matches, which everybody knows. All of those shows are 2 hours. They all have more than 4 matches and 3 promos on them. And for pay-per-views, you're only booking 5 matches. Let's face it, pay-per-views are usually 3 hours long, and they're just match after match after match. So everything's more condensed. So I kind of almost understand why the mode doesn't have 6-man wrestling. I know that a lot of people have complained about it, but my thought process is like, if I put 6 men in a wrestling, what am I going to book for the rest of the show? Just with the way they've balanced it right now. But I would still like to see the option there, if for nothing else than to get a little bit more variation in the tag team area. I love tag team wrestling, and right now, the tag team, in my opinion, still feels the most slightly limited, you know? Yeah, I don't know. I would love to see a little bit more variation with that, and you could do that with the triple threat. I think would be enough to really allow me to go crazy with it and keep me interested. And even though I said that was the last one, there's one more I want to add, and this is another one that I won't jump for, but I've been really wanting for a long time, so I've got to put it in here. It's another cherry-on type scenario. Let us use created belts, please, or let us use the belts that we want. Right now, the way the game works is you can have a major belt and a workhorse belt for the men and a tag team for the men. And for the ladies, you can have a major belt for the ladies, a tag team for the ladies. That's it. I would like it if I could engineer it a little bit more towards the ladies. How about I can put in a created belt for a workhorse for the ladies, and maybe not use the workhorse for the men's. Like, I understand having the 5 belt overall, but let us pick what belts. And why do I have to use the exact NXT belts from that exact era? Let me pick whatever. Let me make it the ECW championship. You don't have an ECW brand in there anyway. Every one of these games has, like, they come with, like, 40 pre-made titles from every different area. Let me use the Winged Eagle if I want to for Raw instead of the newer one. Like, let me get a little bit more creative with the belt stuff. Especially let me use my own created. If you're going to do a created brand, let me do my own created belts. You got to. Like, let me just put those in there, and I will be a very happy person. This isn't, like, if this alone was the next thing, it's not enough to get me to jump ship. Put another cherry on top. I've talked for 20 minutes on this. My voice is about to go, so I'm going to be done. This is my GM 2K24 wish list. These are the things that would get me to kind of jump in. But would they get you? Is there something I missed that you'd love to state? Put in the comments below. Just yell at me for the class. Yell at me for liking the class system. I get that, but it's not going to change, guys. It's just an opinion. But yeah, put whatever you want in the comments below. I want to hear about it because I love GM Mode. Of all the things I played this year, surprisingly, I have played that the most. 142 hours this year, and only one mode. So I would love to see more additions to it and it to become a more robust thing. So I'd love to chat with you about it. You can do that below, or you can join our Discord. Link is in the description below. You can reach us on Facebook at OldManGamingGH. You can reach us on Twitter at OldManGaming9. Well, I guess it's X now. But you can also, as long as you keep watching and listening, I'll keep making it. I'll see you guys next time.